Well, Willie, you can take it from here. Adios, dude.
You'll be back. You haven't seen the last of Willie.
Is it common knowledge that originally the groundskeeper Willie, that it was originally like a Swedish groundskeeper? I believe Dan said, can I make it a Scottish groundskeeper? Because I could get much angrier with a Scottish voice. And I believe that's how it became groundskeeper Willie.
I told you you'd be back.
Hi, everybody. This is David Silverman. I've been on the show a very long time.
He's one of the iconic directors of The Simpsons who literally saved the day at the very beginning of the show.
I'll go along with that one. And this is Matt Selman, a remarkably creative showrunner. I'm so glad he is on our show and taking real interesting chances, not driving us off the cliff at all, but higher up
near the cliff.
Near.
Sleep tight.
I will, Mom.
Don't let the bed bugs bite.
Bed bugs?
We were the first of this idea, this concept of taking the sitcom style of writing a show with a writer's room with animation. I remember very well Matt coming the first day. We were all happy to meet him. We loved Life in Hell, and he was a great guy, and he went through these sketches for the first episode, Goodnight Simpson. The first show I directed was, in fact, Bart the Genius.
This is a big day for you. Why don't you eat something a little more nutritious?
Nonsense, Marge. Frosty Krusty Flakes are what got him where he is today. It could be one of these chemicals here that makes him so smart.
I read John Vidi's script, and I literally thought, this is the funniest thing ever written for animation. So my first thought was I really have to make sure the jokes work and present them well, be visually funny where I have to be, but also get out of the way of the humor and let that really read clearly.
When David was collaborating to create the visual language of the show, you were thinking, let's shoot this like a movie. Let's make this dramatic. Let's put in exciting, heroic shots from other movies like Patton and classic military dramas. Let's not just put the camera and shoot it like a cartoon sitcom.
TV animation was literally wide shot, medium shot, close-up, all in the flat proscenium, no deep space shot. And Wes and I were totally like, no, the camera's gonna be down here, it's gonna be up here, it's gonna be this way, as long as it works for the joke. And if it really helps sell the joke, all the better, not just for the sake of doing the cool angle.
The list of things that wouldn't exist if not for that magical lightning in a bottle of that group of people in 1989 is a long list.
It was that lightning in a bottle between the amazing writing staff that was assembled and this young, scrappy animators who wanted to prove something or try to do something different. Why wouldn't we go all in and try to do different things or try to be as inventive as possible?
Well, usually the couch gags and chalkboards are not connected to the writing process of storytelling. So if you have writers who aren't busy on any given day, we'll try to think of funny ideas for the season ahead of time and put those into a parallel production process. So we'll have a bunch at the beginning of every season, and then if a show is short and we have a long couch gag, we'll use the long one. If the show is long, short couch gag, we use that one. If it's like a milestone episode, like we have our 750th episode coming up, we're trying to think of a really whammo, grand slam, super memorable, blow them away couch gag. I mean, one of the ways the show, I think, stays fresh now is by bringing in outside talent to do the couch gags for us, which is also easier for us. Guillermo del Toro did it, Bill Plimpton.
It really started with Al getting in touch with people who did the Banksy documentary. The storyboard came from him, and actually it was Karen Carnegie who did that, one of our retake directors.
The Triffids of Belleville animators.
Yeah, Sylvain Chomaine, director, designer, animator.
That's one of the highlights we ever did. Another cool thing we've done with the couch gags is to reach out to fan artists. I feel like it's really important to embrace people that love the show and love to reinterpret it in their own personal style. Like we had a young gentleman who lives in Venezuela. He used his designs of the teenage version of The Simpsons for a couch gag on an episode. And I think it connects us to a new generation of Simpsons fans in a really special way. David animated a classic Simpsons sequence of Homer eating his way through New Orleans. Then these Swiss super fans recreated it themselves, eating the exact food in the exact way that David animated it.
He told me how difficult it was. And I said, well, I hadn't planned on you doing it in live action, but good for you guys.
They now do couch gags for us, and they've done a couple. They did one with potato stamps of The Simpsons. They did one like a Google Doodle. Janine and Katrin just poured their passion into the show, and now they're part of our creative family. So
it's amazing.
It's also less work for us. We want to do jokes about our place in the real world, do those jokes about the Itchy and Scratchy show in the Simpsons world.
Matt Groening originally parodied them after Herman and Catnip, which were a more violent version of Tom and Jerry. You know, the thing about cartoon characters is they recover from incredible pain really quickly, you know, and that's a comedy, but not Herman and Catnip. As a kid, I'd watch it going like, there's something off about these cartoons. My favorite example of getting pushback was not from that, but we had an episode called The Front where Grandpa is fronting for Lisa and Bart writing episodes for Itchy and Scratchy. And there's a shot that has caricatures of like Jim Reardon and a few other animators. To make Itchy and Scratchy seem more realistic, animators study real cats and mice. And then the Jim Reardon puts a small firecracker in the cat's mouth. Is that real dynamite? No. And they go out in the hallway, boom, and the door flies off the hinges. They said, well, you can't do that. I said, well, we do that to Itchy and Scratchy all the time. And literally the response was, yes, but those are a cartoon. You can definitely write episodes on secondary characters, and they can be related to, usually or tangentially at least related to the family, or maybe completely related to the family, but it works very well. Cletus is a mainstay. We've done that a few times.
We have one coming up with Duffman.
Yeah, Duffman.
Getting his bags at the airport. Mine? Not mine.
Disco Stew was a great character that came out of nowhere where they had the rummage sale. They had the rummage sale.
Stu, you should buy that. Hey, Disco Stew doesn't advertise.
Combination of the way the character looked and Hank Azaria's hilarious voice for it, that became a regular character.
We've used Disco Stew in so many different ways. He's become part of, you know, the mainstay of characters. We've done that with a lot of characters.
Captain McAllister, the sea
captain we've done it with. We have an episode coming up where we get inside the heart of Carl Carlson.
Definitely Groundskeeper Willie.
If I don't save the wee turtles, who will? Save me from the wee turtles!
The guest actors are another part of the lifeblood of the show, right? You might only have one shot at them. Like, we did a show with The Weeknd in season 33.
I'm sorry to bother you. I'm looking for Bart Simpson.
He came to us, he wanted to be on the show, and he said, all I want to do is I want to play one of Bart's friends. I want to play a kid. The short where Lisa and Billie Eilish hang out.
I'm Billie Eilish. Want a jam?
That's a yes.
John Lithgow just did the show recently. He was great in a parody of Succession.
I finally have what any billionaire businessman wants. Total revenge on the clown who stole his dream.
We just had Hugh Jackman, big guest part, huge singing janitor song, like half the show, one of our biggest, longest musical number ever.
Yeah.
Bart, come with me to a magical place far in the past. America in the 20th century.
Sure, but you better not start singing.
Hugh Jackman he just says, I love singing. He kept saying, this is amazing. I love singing.
Oh, and so it came to pass, with hard work and grit and brass, bit by bit we built our middle class.
That was like a very special episode. Like, that's the kind of thing that I think it's important that the show is doing now, is we're really trying to be experimental.
Anyone from a species that has mastered intergalactic travel, raise your hand.
They are amongst the longer to produce. One of the things that is always the case is you have 3 different art directions. So you have to design a lot, because you basically have to design as much as you design for essentially 3 episodes.
Right, so for this year's Treehouse of Horror 33, it was 3, radically different styles. The middle section was all anime, inspired by the TV show and the manga Death Note from Japan.
I am a Shinigami, a god of death. In my realm, I am called Steve Johnson.
The show was designed and directed by Rob Oliver, the director of the episode, and David, of course, always makes everything better. The execution of the animation, we went to a Korean anime house. This has been one of the things that has connected to fans like I've never seen.
Oh, incredibly. So it was a terrific collaboration, and the reaction has been fantastic, which to me wasn't a giant surprise, because I know how much there's a great, great love for anime in this country, and it's just been growing. I'm happy to see, because I've always adored anime. So I knew that was gonna hit it through the roof.
We're being sealed in a dome!
Well, we probably started the movie in 2003, right?
They reassembled the dream team of classic writers to write the movie. When they got tired, I came in and sort of watched the rest of it happen. It helped out where I could. And, you know, it really came from Jim and Matt and Al at the time, I think, were the three main creative forces. I mean, David directed it, and they just wanted to sort of do a simple story of Homer, you know, learning not to be selfish, but play it out in this epic, grand scheme. And I think it was an amazing accomplishment.
How did the pig tracks get on the ceiling?
Spider Pig does whatever a Spider Pig does.
I was surprised by the reaction of Spider Pig. David was a big co-creator, I would say, of the Spider Pig.
I literally came up with the song off the top of my head when we just said he could be the amazing Spider Pig, and for some reason that saying does whatever a Spider Pig does.
I saw it.
You saw it.
I saw it happen. They had a choir singing the monk version of the Spider Pig song over the credits of that, and that was pretty cool.
We had a lot of rewrites. We had a lot of false starts.
For one crazy weekend, the villain of the movie was Hank Scorpio.
Right.
Because the villain, played by Albert Brooks, who's one of the iconic guest actors, and he's played a lot of really funny guest parts. He's a jock, the bowling instructor.
First, you must get to know your lane. Feel the slickness, feel the set when I finish.
So he's the villain, and originally the villain was like a sad sack in the government who didn't get a lot of respect. He didn't seem like a good villain because he seemed so, even when he went crazy, he seemed too kind of wimpy and powerless and pathetic. Then for one crazy weekend, we said, what if it was literally Hank Scorpio from this beloved episode, You Only Move Twice?
Say, before we continue our tour, would you mind hanging my coat up on the wall, please?
Let's see,
Relax, Homer. At Globex, we don't believe in walls. Matter of fact, I didn't even give you my coat.
We should put out the Hank Scorpio draft. I wonder if anyone has it.
It was Albert Brooks who was like, I don't think it's a good idea.
He didn't think it was a good idea.
Yeah. So he basically did a character like Hank Scorpio, who wasn't Hank Scorpio, essentially.
Because I'm a rich man who wanted to give something back. Not the money, but something. So here is our chance to kick some ass for Mother Earth.
It cleared a lot out of the way. We had a lot of backstory. We realized it was taking away from The Simpsons, and it's a Simpsons movie, and we want to see The Simpsons, as opposed to getting really deep into a brand new character. And these are, you know, interesting lessons you learn when making these characters into a movie.
Almost! Boy, that was close.
Hey, what's up for today, Nettie?
Homer, we're gonna visit the boy's grandmother. Family only, you know?
Oh, okay.
You can't predict them. You can't try to will them into being. They have to find an audience of their own volition.
Stupid, sexy Flanders!
Like, there are things that I think of the show like that are kind of meme-worthy that never became memes because you can't force virality onto a 15-second animation clip.
But sometimes, I mean, something like that was, you know, written and it was just very funny in the animation, like Homer coming out of the bushes. But in my case, with Homer skipping in the land of chocolate, I just got so invested on making the skip cycle absolutely perfect. I was supervising director at the time. Mark Kirkland did the show, and he basically said, I need you to do the shot. And I just kind of kept tinkering with this until I thought this was really funny.
But it is good when you're making the show to remember to do silly flights of fancy.
Yeah.
Put in little silly side things. I mean, sometimes it is easy to say, oh my God, we tell this whole story in so little time, because the most important thing, you know, the Jim Brooks directive #1 is tell a good emotional story. But you need to breathe with these little goofy asides, those are the things that become the memes, not the speech that, you know, touches you. But I don't know, maybe we should work harder on the memes.
They're not predictions, but they're suggestions, and people take us up on it.
Yeah, we're just suggesting what terrible thing might happen. We're probably too aware of the predictions now, because you can't try to predict things. What you can do is sort of study the past and sort of see where the mistakes humanity has made and that they refuse to learn from.
The Donald Trump prediction joke was made in 2000 when Donald Trump was running for president on the third-party Reform Party.
As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump.
People forget it was an easy joke to make. And then they said, how did you predict him coming down the escalator? Well, we didn't.
Very smart people have said, how did you predict him coming down the escalator?
Right.
And we're like, well, respectfully, smart person, that was after, because magic isn't real. One of the most beloved jokes In the history of the show, Homer saying, oh, cartoons are stupid, they don't have to be realistic, and then another Homer walks by out the window. I guess I would say The Simpsons is proud to have been the generational thing that 3 generations of creators watched as kids, that now when they've gone in to do their own things, that's like their base level of what animation creativity is, so they can go and take it in any crazy direction they want.